What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best Ball Lightning Sorcerer build in Diablo 4 new season. So, the Ball Lightning SORC is one of the coolest and visually chaotic builds you can play. It is at the top of the damage charts, but getting right gear can be a bit of a grind. However, once you get it rolling, then the sheer number of orbs flying around is enough to destroy any enemy in seconds. The whole build is centered on the Oaken's Catalyst, which lets you unleash a storm of swirling balls of lightning that cover the entire screen and shred anything caught in their path. With the right setup, enemies will simply vanish under the constant barrage, by giving the build very strong single target performance, while also covering wide areas with AoV. But of course, there's a trade-off. The playstyle keeps you in melee range, which means that you are always very close to the danger, and it does not have that kind of an instant, explosive burst damage that other sorcerer builds will provide. But in this current season, the build has all the tools it needs to overcome those limitations. With the mana shield, advanced techniques, the crown of the Lucian, and the Banished Lord's talismans working together, you can unleash wave after wave of overpowered blue lightning, without ever worrying about draining your mana pool. However, if you want to experiment with alternatives, then there's also the Strike of the Stormborn. This unique will transform your Ball Lightning into something that looks like a frozen orb, and while it can technically offer higher DPS and can even excel in pit pushing, it comes with a clunkier feel. So for most players, Oaken's Catalyst will deliver the smoothest and most satisfying experience. And remember, if you want to check this build, look up the best items, the skill trees and path of building, then check my link in the description. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides Diablo 4 services like cheap gold with fast delivery and pro carry runs, as well as unique and legendary items. They also have more than 17,000 comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KADE for extra 6% off. So, let's start with the core skills. Ball Lightning is of course the star of the show. It's our main damage source, and everything in this build revolves around casting as many orbs as possible, keeping them active and letting them shred enemies. With all the multipliers stacked correctly, each orb can tick dozens of times per second, and when you have a whole field of them flowing around, then the damage output becomes insane. Next is the Unstable Currents, which is your most important buff, and it needs to be active 24/7. This is where the real synergy will come into play. Not only does it provide you with the extra attack speed, which means more balls on the field, but it also casts free spells, and those two are especially important, Lightning Spear and Familiar. Both of these will count as conjurations, which means that you're constantly triggering mana regeneration through the Primordial Binding. Then next we got the Flame Shield. Not only does it make you immune and keep you alive in the tight spots, but it also allows Mana Shield to keep regenerating even in the combat. That means every time you pop the Flame Shield, you're not just saving your life, you're also buying yourself more resources to throw out even more Ball Lightnings. Then Teleport is your mobility option, and like always, it's essential. At first glance, it looks like a filler damage, but it has two critical functions. First, it keeps your explosive combinations buff active, which is important damage multiplier. And then finally, the Wizard's Blizzard. This spell isn't here for direct damage, it's actually your main source of mana regeneration. By keeping Blizzard up, you enable the entire rotation to flow endlessly. It does not need to be always right on your enemies, you just need to activate it to trigger the key effects. And then 4 enhancement slots. The first one is the Teleport enhancement. This is huge, because it allows you to spam teleport way more often, and with a build that plays in a melee range, the extra mobility is priceless. You'll find yourself zipping all over the place, dodging mechanics and weaving through the mobs while keeping your orb spinning. On its own, it's not amazing, but it synergizes beautifully with the Enchantment Master, which gives you even more damage. It also helps you to extend your stun uptime, which plays nicely with the Mage Ball's Lightning. Then next we have gear, and the Hair of the Perdition is one of the most important uniques here. It provides a huge damage boost and a ton of crit chance, which allows us to completely drop the elementalist aspect. This alone makes the build smoother and more flexible with the gear choices. Then there's the Ring of Starless Skies. This one gives you a massive damage multiplier. It's not flashy, but it's incredibly effective. Chaos Crown of the Lucian is another must-have. This item gives you a damage boost, but more importantly, increases the mana cost of the Ball Lightning. That may sound like a downside, but it's absolutely essential, because of how it interacts with the Banished Lord's Talisman. And speaking of which, the Banished Lord's Talisman is super important. When Ball Lightning casts more than 275 mana, this item activates by giving you permanent overpower and a massive 1.7 damage multiplier. It's one of the bigger power spikes that the build gets, but here's the catch: if your Ball Lightning costs less than 275 mana, then you can't use it, and that's why Crown of Lucian is so important. You'll need Ball Lightnings on everything, so the boots, mastery skill bonuses, Care of the Perdition, and ideally even Vex. Then for runes, the best in slot is straightforward. Nia plus Zek will combine overflowing energy and give you 100% uptime on unstoppable currents. Even if you're not stacking heavy cooldown reduction, it will still work great. And this is insane, because unstoppable currents is one of the most important pieces of the build. Then Seer plus Vex is another top tier combo. Together they will give you +3 ranks to all skills, which may not sound flashy, but it's about 13% damage boost thanks to the advanced technique scaling. Then next up we have the Chaos perks. The unique Chaos perk you absolutely need is the Mana Shield. It makes you tanky, it regenerates resources, and it completely solves all of your mana problems. Without it, the build feels like it's constantly struggling, but with it you feel unstoppable. From the base perks, the first must-have is the Advanced Techniques. This perk will boost the damage of the Ball Lightning, while simultaneously increasing the mana cost, which, as we talked about, is exactly what we want for the Banished Lord's Talisman. Then next is the Power Siphon, which simply doubles your damage, and the supposed downside is meaningless once you get thousands of mana flowing through the Mana Shield. And finally, we got Explosive Combinations. This is another easy to maintain damage bonus, since your rotation already includes Spark to trigger it every few seconds. And then for the gems, the setup is very simple. You wanna put a ruby in your weapon for raw power, then slot runes and topaz in your armor, and then load your amulet and the rings with the skulls for the extra survivability. Overall, this is clean, efficient, and it works perfectly with the rest of the build. Then next we have our skill tree, and the Ball Lightning Sorcerer is designed as a self-sustaining loop, where every part of the build fuels the next. Your main goal is to keep the Ball Lightning flowing constantly, and this tree is shaped to maximize that efficiency. Instead of just investing points into damage multipliers, you're also investing into the attack speed, mana efficiency, and the triggers that give you more orbs into play. Attack speed is huge here, because more casts equal more orbs, which will naturally translate into the higher DPS. The passive mechanics tied to the frequent casting, like the mana return, buff uptime, and the procs, all scale alongside it by creating a feedback loop. Utility abilities are also chosen not because they do raw damage, but because they keep the engine running. They give you the movement, defenses, or regeneration you need to stay alive, while the Storm of Orbs does the heavy lifting. Then defenses are minimal but carefully selected, so that you're not sacrificing too much on offense. The end result is a build that thrives on the constant motion, layering orbs until the screen is covered and everything melts away. Next up we have Paragon board. The way that this Paragon setup works is all about making the Ball Lightning feel smoother and stronger as you scale into the endgame. Early on, your main goal is to establish a solid foundation, so things like the critical strike value, elemental damage scaling, and enough mana support that you never feel starved while spamming orbs. The first board you unlock will not create a flashy spike in the power, but it stabilizes your playstyle, and this is what allows you to lean into the non-stop casting loop that defines the build. And then as you push further, you will begin investing more focus on the bonuses. In one board, we emphasize destructive lightning damage and critical strike multipliers by pushing your raw output higher with every upgrade, and then another one focuses on the mana efficiency and the cooldown support, making sure that your unstoppable current uptime will stay consistent, and your expensive Ball Lightning actually fuels itself instead of draining you out. By the mid-game, you should get Elementalist and the Unleash, which will tie directly into your enhancement setup and the rapid cast playstyle. Elementalist will upgrade their damage scaling tied to your enhancements, while Unleash rewards the constant flow of spells that stacks more multiplicative bonuses. Then next, let's talk about Mercenaries. Your permanent hire should be the Subo. His passive gives you a built-in map hack, and once you've tried it, you'll never want to play without it. It also provides Opening Fire, which gives you some extra damage that stacks nicely with your main setup. And for reinforcement, you want to go with Raher, with the Bastion and the Injured Trigger. This will give you a massive damage reduction when your HP gets low, which is exactly that kind of a safety net you want in a melee ranged build. And now finally, let's see how to actually play this build. The rotation is simple but effective. You want to keep the Blizzard active at all times. It doesn't always need to be on the screen, but having it up is essential for the mana regeneration and the synergies, like the Hoarfrost and Elementalist. then cast Spark every few seconds to maintain your explosive combinations buff. This is one of your key damage bonuses and it's very easy to keep up. Then Unstoppable Currents should be active at all times. This buff is too important for the attack speed in the free Conjuration cast. Then Teleport is your repositioning tool. You want to use it aggressively to stay alive since you're always constantly close to the action. Then save the Flame Shield for emergencies only. It's your panic button and resource stabilizer, so don't waste it. And of course, you want to spam the Ball Lightning at everything you see. This is the bread and butter of the build, and once the engine is running, it feels incredible. You're just filling the screen with deadly orbs and watching enemies melt in seconds. However, if your mana somehow dips too low, then hit the Flame Shield and step back for a second to let the super regen kick in. Within few seconds, you'll be back to full power and ready to do insane amount of DPS.